Hello, everyone, and many thanks for joining today's stream. It is 4th, isn't it? 4th of March, uh, 11 a.m. in the morning, Moscow time. And I have to tell you, dear friends, straight away, there might be some technical issues because of this whole VPN stuff is going on here in Russia. I guess Moscow is planning to build something like China has this firewall and cut off Russia from rest of the world completely or something. I don't know, man. Even Chinese are managing to get into internet to have a connection with the rest of the world. So what thinking process of Russian officials are that are engaged in all these processes in anybody's guess. It's counterproductive, in my personal opinion, and they are creating so much trouble, by the way, for ordinary citizens like me, for example. And I'm doing something that is actually in interests of Russian people, I believe, and Russia itself, reaching out community worldwide and sharing pro-Russian perspective or pro-Russian take on different developments. Anyways, man. So there might be some technical issues. My apologies for that, but I can do at this point nothing about it. Before I start, dear friends, let me give you update on Marathon. We have one new member on the Patreon, Roy. Thank you very much for joining our community. You're welcome. Hopefully more members from our bigger communities on YouTube and Rumble will consider to help me with this marathon. I remind you, dear friends, that before end of this week, if we will manage, which is hardly possible at this point, to get to 100 new members on Patreon and Boosty together, then I'll be able to justify all this time, basically full-time work on this project. If we failed on that, then I will move from next week my news updates on my Patreon and Boosty pages, and then we'll be focused on that. And of course, I'll try to find some job, by the way, some income, right? Because yet again, now I'm struggling to justify spending so much time on these projects. So that's how it is. We have 7 new members on Patreon since I launched the marathon. Unfortunately, 1 member left her, but 7 joined her, and there we have 1 new member on a Boosty for now, right? We are far away from a target, but yeah, it is what it is. In case you want to support my work and become a sponsor, supporter, then a link to my Patreon page and the page on Boosty are under this video in the description box, and there will be in the pinned comment on YouTube after the stream. Okay, dear friends, that's being said, let's go through some news. And lot is happening, and many members of our community, especially veterans, by the way, of course, probably are not surprised to see any of it happening right now, either in the Middle East, right, or elsewhere. And of course, I mean latest developments in regards to this Iranian chapter of the World War III that is actually happening before our eyes, is that, we have more and more hints from the Washington that they are preparing ground operation now, as they are realizing that airstrikes, they failed to achieve tasks that they wanted to achieve, right? And let's go through some details on that. Matter. And for example, Blumenthal, U.S. senator, went to talk to journalists and said it basically directly that U.S. might sending its boots on the ground. I'm gonna give you a short video of statements of Blumenthal right now. Share your opinion, what you will make of it, of this statement. So let's listen.
I am more fearful than ever after this briefing that we may be putting boots on the ground and that troops from the United States may be necessary to accomplish objectives that the administration seems to have, but I also am no more clear on what the priorities are going to be of the administration going forward, whether it is destroying the nuclear capacity of Iran, or simply the missiles, or regime change, or stopping terrorist activities. And I think the administration owes it to the American people to have briefings not just for members of Congress, but for the American public.
So a number of U.S. lawmakers were briefed basically about by Trump's administration about their plans, and that's the reaction of the Blumenthal after the briefing, as I understand. And yes, it is becoming more and more clear that they are about to enter their ground operation. And as I said, veterans of our community, active members of our community, definitely not going to be surprised to hear this, because I was saying what's going to happen when U.S. will attack. Not if, but when U.S. will attack together with Israel on Iran, like weeks before they actually attacked, right? And I spoke about a ground operation also. And when it comes to ground operation, of course, I already said, by the way, how this is gonna play out. U.S. In my personal opinion, in my predictions, I was saying that U.S., Israel, UK, their other allies will use their connections with their Kurdish armed groups, also with Baluchi armed groups that are operating, one in a western part of Iran, another on the eastern part of Iran, and will use them as their proxies on the ground to gain control over the southern territories, right? To use it as a bridgehead for further advances. Same time, I was sharing my take on the situation that most likely Western ruling class will push monarchies, Gulf monarchies, to enter this war, right? And West will use then militaries of these monarchies as their main force on the ground. And we are definitely seeing this strategy on part of U.S., Israel, and their allies being implemented now. And unfortunately, more and more statements are coming from Gulf monarchies that they are kind of considering to conduct some retaliatory strikes on Iran, because Iran is targeting U.S. military assets in the Gulf area, Persian Gulf area. And of course, that's exactly what Western ruling class wants, because ultimate goal in this Iranian chapter of this World War III that Western ruling class is waging, Western ruling class Zionists and their allies are waging against the rest of the humanity, is to basically engulf entire Middle East, not just Iran, but entire Middle East, into a civil war, by the way. I was saying this for a very long time now. And shut down navigation in the Persian Gulf. Today, officials in the West, public figures, are talking about securing navigation in the Persian Gulf, right? But in reality, in how screwed the situation is, when in reality, all they want in regards to this particular chapter of this war is to shut down navigation in the Persian Gulf for sustainable, a long period of time, right? And to do so, they need their entire region to be engulfed in a war between the neighboring countries and also between the peoples, right? On ethnic and sectarian lines. And unfortunately, we do have indicators that there is a high risk, high probability that Western ruling class might actually succeed in this evil plan. Let's hope not, but there is a risk of that for sure. And you know, dear friends, among Western ruling class, among puppets, basically, different assets that Western ruling class is using to advance their agendas, there is also a so-called Christian Zionist group, right? A Christian Zionist group that is extremely strong in U.S. in particular. And you know what they are telling, those Christian Zionists and their elements in the military, among high-ranking officers that are influenced, indoctrinated by this psycho ideology that they have. Okay, there is already technical issues, and is telling me. Okay, by the way, I don't even know what to do about it. But okay, at least sound is good, right? At least sound is good, and whenever I'm sharing some video, I think those videos are also those news and stuff is also visible on the screen. So okay, it not necessary me personally to be if I'm not being seen on in a video. Okay, sorry, dear friends. As I said, technical issues might occur because of all this situation with the internet VPNs and stuff that is going on here in Russia, and so let's continue with this news. Let's continue with this news here that these Christian Zionists and their elements, high-ranking officers that are indoctrinated in this psycho ideology, are telling the militaries, allegedly, according to reports, that are telling the U.S. militaries that they are engaged in some sort of a religious struggle now, right? U.S. troops told Trump's attack on Iran is signal fire for Armageddon or something. When Jesus is gonna come again around, and goodness me, man, uh, I'm a Christian myself, by the way, and I never see anybody in Orthodox Christianity being this insane. This is something specific for the Western Christianity, right? Being this is insane, right? And believing some garbage that Jesus is gonna come now because some fucking humans decided that they're gonna launch a war, man. What the heck is wrong with these creatures, man? Are they even humans or human looking some fucking filth? I don't know. But that's what is going on, by the way. You should know that Western ruling class is using these zombified freaking creatures also to advance their agendas, right? The US military religious freedom advocacy group has received over 200 complaints already about Christian fundamentalist speeches by commanding officers. What the hell, man? Multiple commanders across all branches of the US military have offered their fundamental Christian explanations for the attack on Iran, describing President Donald Trump as a harbinger or whatever the heck is that of the second coming, and the conflict itself as a signal fire for Armageddon. The Military Religious Freedom Foundation has reported this organization, U.S. nonprofit, non-profiting the separation of a church and state, as well as the freedom of the consent within the military, said on Tuesday that it had received more than 200 complaints from active members of the U.S. military over their extremist Christian speeches delivered by commanding officers since the start of the U.S.-Israeli attack on Iran. One of the complaints was lodged by non-commissioned officer, NCO, with the unit in a ready support status, which can be deployed into Iran combat zone at any time. The commander of the unit urged us to tell our troops that this was all part of God's divine plan, and he specifically referenced numerous citates out of the book of Revelation referring the Armageddon and the imminent return of the Jesus Christ. Their NCO wrote. Insanity, truly insanity, by the way, right? Truly insanity. Western Christianity went in very, very strange ways. And at this point, I personally, as Orthodox Christian, will definitely question their faith. I have no respect for them, for those psychopaths, right? I don't think they are Christians. They are just tool, weapon, brainwashed freaking zombies in hands of a Western ruling class and the Zionists. That's all, man, right? Because no sane individual, by the way, no sane Christian will ever say that any freaking human is able to force God to do anything, right? And these idiots think that their actions gonna trigger God to come around there and do some judgment here on the humans. What the hell? What are we talking about? What's going on? US is fucked, man. US is fucked. I'm telling you, and world is fucked too. Anyways, So you to know, by the way, what kind of insanity is going on in the West, right? Meanwhile, Trump is open to supporting the armed militants in Iran. U.S. officials say. The Wall Street Journal reports that Trump plans to arm Kurdish separatists. What a surprise, by the way! What a surprise! Goodness me, we did not knew this would happen, right? None of us knew. I did not spoke about this, like, I don't know, a couple of dozens of times about such a scenario. What a surprise. So Wall Street Journal reports that Trump plans to arm Kurdish separatists, including in Iran, with their aim of using them as a ground forces. Negotiations are already underway with the Barzani Kurdish clan, which governs Iraqi Kurdistan. And so exactly what I was saying, by the way, these things are developing, situation is developing exactly as I predicted as of now. On one hand, US, Israel, and the allies are targeting all over the Iran, by the way, government institutions, police institutions, civilian infrastructure, not just political and military leadership, but civilian infrastructure throughout the country to erase any elements of the statehood, right? Police stations are targeted throughout the country. And I predicted this would happen because they want to create power vacuum. They are targeting civilian infrastructure, energy infrastructure, water supply stuff, right? Sewage system and everything, because, by the way, summer is coming. And while erasing any infrastructure, they will create a hell on earth on the ground. That's what their plan is, because they want to force, not just create power vacuum, but create total chaos and force different groups of people to fight with each other for survival, right? They're gonna create a total hell there. That's their plan. And they want to spell then this mayhem of civil war and chaos from Iran throughout the region. Iraq being one of their countries, of course, and they are already working. And that's one side. And another side of the things is that, as I predicted, they are already working with their Kurdish armed groups. They are working, I'm quite sure they are working with Baluchi armed groups. And in coming days, you're going to hear quite a lot about Baluchis, by the way, also. Baluchis are operating on the southern eastern side of Iran. I'm going to show you a map here. I'm going to show you a map. I know I'm stuck, isn't it? I'm not visible, but this is the map, by the way. Let's go to Iran. So this is Iran, right? And on the western side, in this area, northern western side, by the way, there are areas where Kurdish minority lives, predominantly Kurdish minorities are living, right? And Western ruling class wants to use this territory as a stronghold, right? As a bridgehead to further advance inside Iran if necessary, and basically create this mayhem that they plan. And there is also Baluchi separatist movement, which has a number of terrorist organizations, right? That are operating on the borderline, in the borderline regions between Iran and Pakistan, Iran and Afghanistan. So you're going to hear about Baluchis too. And you're going to hear, of course, about Azeris, by the way, Azerbaijanis. Two major groups in Iran is Azerbaijanis and the Persians. And of course, Western ruling class, in their attempt to succeed in this proxy war, will try whatever they can to provoke a war between these two major groups, Persians and Azerbaijanis also. And they are working on this direction. None of us are surprised. I predicted that this would happen. And on other side, well, they are, as I already said, they already are working with the Kurdish militants, and even Western media is now acknowledging that, right? Unfortunately, another my prediction in regards to all this situation might become true because yet again, a number of Gulf monarchies, one after another, are stating that they might actually go ahead with go ahead with their military operation against Iran, which is of course unfortunate. But that's exactly what Western ruling class wants, because U.S. is incapable of deploying in a relatively short time a large number of military personnel for ground invasion, right? U.S. definitely can and already did deploy special forces on the ground, have no doubts about it. And I expect any time now reports to came in about elimination of U.S. And Israeli and potentially British units of the special forces, because at some point they're gonna caught up in a close range fight, right? They're gonna be spotted at some point. But when it comes to a large number, 100,000 troops, 150,000 troop deployment, 200,000 troops, right? I don't think U.S. is very much capable of doing so, right, in a short period of time. So they're gonna try as hard as they can to push Gulf monarchies to enter the war, so they will use their armies on the ground. On the ground. Kurdish formations, not just in Iran itself, but also in Iraq, obviously in Iraqi Kurdistan, and Gulf monarchies, armies of the Gulf monarchies. And I said many times before, neither Moscow neither Beijing can afford or allow basically Western ruling class to succeed in this evil plan of engulfing entire Middle East into a war, right, into fire. And therefore Moscow is very actively engaged in diplomacy. Beijing is very actively engaged in diplomacy in their attempts to keep Gulf monarchies away from their entering this war against Iran. And let's hope Moscow and Beijing succeeds in this diplomatic effort. But risk is there because UAE, for example, is considering, according to Axios, possibility of conducting military actions against Iran in response to missile and drone attacks. And yet again, let's make it clear that Iran is not yet, at least, attacking intentionally military, political leadership of these Gulf monarchies, their infrastructure. Some of it is damaged, yes. When it comes to some of the infrastructure, it is civilian infrastructure, let's say, in these Gulf monarchies, was struck, yes, because that infrastructure was used by US militaries, CIA, for example, Israeli secret services, British secret services, right? And others. And even Western media is acknowledging that, yes, during one of the strikes on a hotel that formally is a civilian infrastructure, number of US militaries were injured. So it was the legit target, correct? That hotel was a legit target in that case, if US militaries were inside. And so, despite these instances when Iran is targeting US militaries that are stationed in a civilian infrastructure, Iranian leadership was very clear that they are not in a war against those Gulf monarchies, and they should stay out of this war. And that will be a very wise decision on their part, if they will. But unfortunately, every now and then, these days, some strong statements, some hints are coming out from the Gulf about the possibility of these countries joining the war. They're gonna, if they do so, that's gonna be fatal mistake on their part, for sure. And Trump, by the way, on top of negotiating with those Kurdish separatist movements, Kurdish armed groups, terrorist groups, I'm quite sure contacts have been made with the Belugis, right? Also, Belugi separatist movement, Belugi terrorist organizations that are operating cross-border between Pakistan and, for example, Iran. It's not just that U.S. is doing, but also Trump yesterday went to say that U.S. Navy is ready to escort the tankers through Hormuz Strait. Basically, U.S. is saying that, well, we are ready to deploy our forces to ensure navigation. Yet again, in reality, Western ruling class wants to shut down navigation in the Persian Gulf and through Hormuz Strait. But right now, they're going to use this topic, right, to further push Gulf countries to enter the war. US wants to embolden these Gulf monarchies to enter the war, right? And that's what this statement from Trump actually is, that US is going to deploy its military assets because naval assets not enough. If you actually want to secure Persian Gulf and the Hormuz Strait, well, you have to have a control over the ground, on the ground, by the way, on Iranian side of the Gulf, right? And the only way you can establish ground control there is if you deploy troops. And US has not enough troops in the region to achieve this. And they will push Saudis, they will push Bahrain, Kuwait, Qataris, UAE to deploy their ground forces, their military assets, right, on Iranian soil. And hopefully, yet again, there is trickery is going on, by the way, trickery on part of Western ruling class. They are sort of desperate because their initial phase of these attacks on Iran definitely did not went in a way they were hoping for, because they took out almost entire leadership, political military leadership of Iran, right? And their expectation was that, well, after that, chaos gonna emerge straight away, right? Because Iran will be left without command and control, basically, but it did not happen. Due to this decentralization of their security forces, armed forces, and so on, what Iran did is that, well, they secured themselves from decapitation strikes, because all their security forces throughout the country, all the militaries throughout the country, all the representatives of the state throughout the country that are dispersed, well, they know what the plan is. They all have a plan, all have tasks and purposes, and they are following these orders. And clear example of that is, for example, constant strikes on US military assets in Erbil area, for example, in Iraqi Kurdistan, right? That is controlled by Kurdish armed groups. I'm quite sure one of the Iranian military groups from this decentralized force had the task to eliminate US military assets in Kurdistan, and it's a fifth day now, isn't it? Fifth day. And that's what they do, man. They are targeting US military assets constantly, non-stop, right? Wave after wave after wave. Even if there is nothing left on those bases, in some cases, to obliterate. But they have a task, and they are carrying on with this operation. And also, by the way, another reason why Iraqi Kurdistan is seems like to be priority target for Iranian militaries is, of course, fact that Kurds gonna be used, Kurdish armed groups gonna be used by Western ruling class to destabilize Iran, right, and to create a bridgehead on Iranian territory. So this is additional reasoning why Iranians are disactive in direction of Erbil area, in direction of Iraqi Kurdistan, right? To send a clear message to the local Kurdish authorities that, you know what, we know what you are doing, we know what your masters are doing. Stay away from the war, or we will, next our missiles will hit not just US military bases, but your freaking bases too. That's a message that Iranians are sending, by the way. And let's make no mistake, even if US, Israel, their allies, even if Western ruling class will succeed provoking war between Kurds and their Iranians, they're not going to be able to succeed much, because compared to Iranian forces, Kurdish forces are, by the way, not that significant, right? They have some experience for sure, right? But compared to Iranian forces, by the way, I mean, they're nowhere close, right? And it's going to be extermination, basically, of the Kurdish forces. Even if all the Western and Israeli air support, they will not be able to actually succeed in occupying some vast areas of Iran. Neither Azerbaijani people, neither Persians will allow this to happen, period, right? But situation is escalating, of course, and from now on, from this point, I think it's a matter of definitely like hours, maybe even no more than like several days, and we will see ground operations. We will see attention or focus being shifted from current airstrikes to ground operations. Just give it a few days, right? And that's what we gonna see, because after all, both U.S. and Israel is running out of missiles and the bombs, right? They drop thousands and thousands of bombs, right, or missiles and so on Iran already. Let's continue with some. Other news. In any case, dear friends, as I said, if you are active viewer of my updates, nothing will surprise you that is happening right now in the Middle East, because I literally predicted everything, right? There's nothing is happening there that I didn't spoke about in my updates. Also, reports are, dear friends, that IRGC intercepted another F-15 fighter jet of U.S. Air Force. Information is coming from Tasnim News Agency from Iranian side. I have not seen video confirmation or photo confirmation of this successful intercept, so therefore let's take this information with a pinch of salt. But if true, and this would be fourth confirmed case of losses of planes by U.S. militaries since the beginning of the operation. Also, you know, Iran continues to launch, even though maybe number of launches have decreased from the first and second day, but nevertheless, missile and drone launches continue. Retaliatory strikes from Iran, and probably you already heard that in Saudi Arabia, by the way, CIA officer, how should I say? I mean, that CIA has public offices throughout the region. What the hell is going on there? Next to consulate or something, U.S. consulate, there was some CIA base basically, and according to reports, that base was struck, and Iranian side is claiming that up to 10 CIA operatives were eliminated as a result of this strike. But it's not just Saudi Arabia that Iranians are targeting CIA assets, but also elsewhere too. And we have this report, for example, that CIA building in Iraq was hit by a drone and destroyed, right? So maybe CIA is also accounting for numerous losses. We're not gonna hear numbers. CIA never gonna release probably information about their losses, but well, clearly, even Western media, by the way, one of the U.S. TV stations acknowledged, actually, I can give you a video. I believe I have a video. They acknowledged, by the way, that actually, by the way, they are targeting that CIA office was targeted, right? Let me give you a video. So Iranian intelligence did quite a good job, that means, right? Because they knew there was a CIA presence in that area or something, right? They went in and obliterate their place. Just a sec, dear friends, sir. I will just copy it now. Okay. So one might be skeptical, you know, how Iranians know where their CIA headquarters are or CIA hideouts and stuff like that, but they know, and Iranians are actually targeting those CIA presence, CIA assets, and Western media, so-called media, is acknowledging this. Look at this report, for example.
At a Fox News alert, an official source has confirmed that a suspected Iranian drone has hit a CIA station in Saudi Arabia's capital. Jennifer Griffin is live in Washington. Jennifer, what do we know?
Well, Jessica, we've confirmed with an official source that, in fact, it was an Iranian drone that struck the station, the CIA station in Riyadh. It was part of that U.S. Embassy compound, part of that drone strike last night that led to damage at the embassy. This is certainly a symbolic victory for the IRGC. Nobody was injured. Nobody was at the embassy at the time.
No, they're gonna say nobody was injured, nobody was killed. They're never gonna say true. If entire group of CIA was eliminated, they're not gonna say that, isn't it? They're not gonna acknowledge. And so it is true. It is true that Iranians are targeting not just military assets of US, but also CIA intelligence assets of the US and Israel and all the other countries that are in this satanic coalition, right? And so yes, one might wonder, how Iranians are managing to pinpoint these locations of their CIA headquarters or stuff. But yeah, I mean, they are working, by the way. They have intelligence also, and they have friends that also have intelligence, like China, Russia. You think Beijing and Moscow just sitting away and just observing the situation? No, Moscow and Russia, Moscow and Beijing, of course, are assisting, right? Of course, are assisting in many ways that we might learn about sometime in the future, and some assistance might forever stay secret. Anyways, there was another CIA headquarters that was hit also in Iraq, according to reports. U.S. State Department issued a security alert in Cyprus. U.S. non-emergency personnel was recommended to leave the island, and this is a bit exaggeration on part of U.S. State Department. Neither Iran's allies, Hezbollah, for example, or Houthi, gonna strike Cyprus Republic. They're not gonna strike Cypriots, right? All they do is harass basically British militaries that are stationed on British overseas territories. It's a British territory that Iranians and Hezbollah are targeting. For example, it's not formally, officially, it's not a territory of the Cypriot Republic. It's an occupied territory of UK, right? So yes, if British citizens are stationed there, if US citizens are there, non-essential personnel on that British military base, well, it will be wise on their part to flee the area. But if you are somewhere on an island in the Republic of Cyprus, they can enjoy themselves. Nothing gonna happen to them. Nothing. RIA Novosti is also reporting that, well, of course, US and Israel continue to strike on Iran throughout the region. By the way, Tehran, Isfahan, and other cities were targeted. Tehran, Isfahan, Qom, Urmia, and other areas were targeted. And as I said, dear friends, more increasingly, these strikes of US and Israel are directed towards the police stations, directed towards the medical infrastructure, directed towards the water supply infrastructure, directed towards sewage infrastructure to be eliminated, directed towards police, obviously, and any local authorities, state institutions, local state institutions, because yet again, as I said, plan of the Western ruling class is to create a power vacuum and such a dire conditions on the ground that they will force people to fight for survival, fight with each other for survival. That's their task, right? And the Iranian people have to know, and hopefully they are well informed, right, what their task and purposes of this attacking satanic force is. And they should never allow themselves to take a look at their fellow citizen as a potential hostile. They should stay together, because the only way to survive for Iran and Iranian society is to be united. Hopefully they know that. And also reports are, by the way, that Today is the 4th of March, by the way. Just a few minutes ago, I said 5th, isn't it? No, it's not yet 5th. It's the 4th March, of course. And today, later on, maybe announcement will be made about election of a new supreme leader of Iran. And as it was predicted by many, this new supreme leader might be son of assassinated previous supreme leader of Iran, Ali Khamenei, and name of his son is Mojtaba or Muhtaba. I don't know how in Iranian you say his name, Muhtaba. So yeah, Muhtaba Khamenei might be presented to the public today as a new supreme leader of the country. We will find out. But reports are that negotiations on the matter has already had happened. Voting on the matter has already was concluded. We will find out. RIA Novosti is also reporting that dozens of tankers are stranded on the both side of Strait of Hormuz. Yes, understandably so. And not just the tankers, but any vessel is afraid to move around either Persian Gulf or through Hormuz Strait, because it's a war zone, quite effectively, right? It's a war zone. So many companies are struggling now with insurance. London's Lloyd's don't want to insure the vessels, right? So these vessels that are not insured are ultimately becoming shadow fleet. Western ruling classes loves to use this terminology about Russian commercial vessels or the commercial vessels that are linked to Russia to be shadow fleet. And you know why they're calling it shadow fleet? Because they are not insured in London. That's the only reason why they call these vessels shadow fleet. They have a sort of a monopoly, right? And they want to keep this monopoly in place. British aristocracy, British ruling class, that is, right? Western ruling class, globalists. And that's their basis of calling the vessels to be part of shadow fleet. That they are not insured in London, so must be shadow fleet, right? They have to come up with some terminology to create some negative aura around their subject, right? They are good at propaganda, these criminals and mass murderers and genocidal maniacs that Western elites are, right? And their puppets too, by the way. And so, yes, dozens and dozens of tankers and all sorts of vessels are basically stuck on both sides of the Hormuz Strait. And as long as this war continues, I guess navigation in an area would not be that easy. And if Western ruling class succeeds, in this operation to destabilize and engulf in the fire entire region, then world should say bye to anything from the Middle East, because Persian Gulf and Hormuz Strait gonna get shut for years to come if Western elites will succeed in this attack, right, on humanity. Also, Trump had a meeting with their German chancellor, isn't it, yesterday? And he went after Spain. He was not happy, not pleased that the Spanish prime minister dared to criticize U.S.-Israeli attack, unprovoked attack on Iran. And Trump stated that he gave a Scott Bessent order or something to basically downgrade significantly relationships with Spain, especially in terms of trade. I can give you a video of his statement, by the way. He retaliated on Spain immediately. All Spanish leader did is said that, this is not really based, these actions of the US not really based on international law, right? And that was enough. That was enough for Trump to go crazy. Yes, he's threatening now to basically shut down trade with Spain. We will see. And this is the video of Trump's statement, short one, by the way. I would not bother you with more of the statements of this element.
Are you going to take the heat off the Europeans to potentially help you? Mark Rutte called on the allies to also help you.
What does that mean?
Well, you have to ask Mark Rutte. He said not as part of NATO, but to be helpful to you
Well, some of the European nations have been helpful and some haven't. And I'm, very surprised. Germany's been great. He's been terrific. Others have been very good, terrific. I think that the head of NATO, Mark, is fantastic. Okay, Mark Rutte. I think he's fantastic. But some of the European, like Spain, has been terrible. In fact, I told Scott to cut off all dealings with Spain. Spain, first of all, it started when every European nation, at my request, paid 5%, which they should be doing. And everybody was enthusiastic about it, Germany, everybody. And Spain didn't do it. And now Spain actually said that we can't use their bases. And that's all right, we could use their base if we want. We could just fly in and use it. Nobody's going to tell us not to use it. But we don't have to. But they were unfriendly. And so I told him, we don't want to, Spain has absolutely nothing that we need other than great people. They have great people, but they don't have great leadership.
Yeah, he also was upset about decision of Spain, or recommendation of Spain not to use its military bases for their attacks, or its ground for the attacks on Iran, and this make Pentagon and the White House mad. And at some point, Trump went to say that we don't really need permission. We just can go there, and no one gonna do nothing. I mean, what are you talking about? You're gonna invade Spain? It's their territory, so they are in right to tell you what to do. Right? You are a guest there. You are not owned that country. You are a guest. But yet again, this is the level of relationships between these so-called allies. Right? You make your own judgment, by the way, but I think this is truly insane and insulting for sure for not all normal people, by the way, in US and in Spain and throughout the world, right? When major nuclear superpower is at least formally run by this type of individuals as Trump is, and Hexed, by the way, someone that probably have not read even a single book in his life, right? It's a shame. It's a shame what is going on there, but it is what it is, man. Right? Let's continue with some other news, dear friends, that I have bookmarked for this initial part of the news segment, and then, as I do lately, I will go through some Telegram channels for our latest updates, right? So that once I will finish this live stream, you will know all the latest about our major topics, right? That at least pro-Russian media is paying attention to, and the public, of course. And so, on the topic of special military operation, by the way, let me give you an update that past night, according to Russian Defense Ministry's latest update, air defense systems on duty intercepted 32 drones that was launched by Kyiv regime with the assistance of NATO. 32 drones were intercepted, 21 over the Volgograd region, 4 over the Rostov region, and also Belgorod regions, 4 each. 2 drones over the Astrakhan region, and 1 drone over the Kursk region. And when it comes to terrorist activity of the Kyiv regime and its NATO backers, I guess many members of our community know already that Kyiv regime, with assistance of UK, I have no doubts about it, by the way, that at least UK, British Secret Services, British intelligence orchestrated this attack in the Mediterranean on a Russian LNG tanker, by the way, which is burning now and might sink, actually. And so reports are that Russian LNG tanker Arctic methane is on fire in the Mediterranean Sea. Reuters reports, citing sources in the shipping and the maritime safety sector. The fate of the crew is currently, for the moment of this reporting, was unknown. Patrol aircraft, including those of Turkish Navy, have been spotted over the incident area, but there is no information about the large-scale rescue operation yet. Greek media claim that their tanker might have been attacked by Ukrainian drones around 4 a.m. local time, after which explosions occurred. And I can show you a short video of this burning tanker, by the way. Of course, this is a terrorist attack conducted by British intelligence services, British intelligence and militaries, with and they probably used for plausible deniability purposes. They probably involved one or two Ukrainians in that, right? One or two representatives of their Kiev regime's secret services. This is the video itself.
Oh my God, it's still going. Those flames are huge. I hope everybody got off that thing.
So it's a massive LNG tanker.
Still going.
Massive LNG tanker, of course, that you see there. And Russian LNG tanker, a link to Russia for sure. And yeah, it was destroyed by British intelligence, by British and Kiev regime's terrorists as a result of this terrorist attack. And for this moment, I have not seen any reaction from Moscow. Maybe there will be something later on, and of course I'll give you Moscow's reaction in next updates. But I will just remind you, dear friends, that a couple of days ago, another Russian vessel linked to Russia, let's say this way, because I don't know, of course, these vessels are under the Russian flag or not, but they are linked to Russia, that's for sure. And another one was hijacked by Belgium and French militaries in the Northern Sea, literally just a few days ago. Right, and now attack on Russian LNG tanker in the Mediterranean. This is of course a big deal. Because at some point, if Moscow would not be able to deter London and other NATO capitals from conducting these terrorist attacks on Russian commercial shipping, then at some point, I guess, this maritime embargo on Russia that Western elites, Western ruling class is dreaming about and actually announced in numerous occasions will be in force, de facto, will be in force, and that might force Russian energy companies to significantly cut down on oil production and gas production, including LNG. Because if we cannot transport safely, either LNG or the oil or anything else, by the way, safely, then of course you're gonna cut down on production of the thing, because domestic market here in Russia alone is of course too small to consume all the goods and all the resources that Russian economy is producing, right? Including in energy sector. So this is a very serious topic. I lost count how many such instances we have seen when direct attacks, terrorist attacks are happening on Russian link vessels, and when Russian link vessels have been hijacked, right? And at least for now, no, I don't know, man. I did not see any steps from Moscow that would actually deter Western ruling class for committing such crimes. Maybe things gonna change tomorrow, I don't know, but for now at least I'm quite sure Western elites are sure that they can continue to operate this way with impunity, because yet again Moscow did not do nothing yet, right? Nothing of a scale that will actually deter Western elites from orchestrating this kind of actions. Very serious stuff. After all, I have said for a reason, isn't it, that Baltic region, for example, where mostly this harassment of the Russian link vessels are happening, might actually be the point where we will see direct conflict between militaries of the number of European NATO member states and the Russian Federation. Although in this particular case, this Russian tanker or Russia-linked tanker was struck in Mediterranean. And not the first instance, by the way. Already several vessels, commercial vessels, were attacked and seriously damaged in the Mediterranean. And in every instance, I have no doubts, British militaries were involved, British intelligence and militaries were involved, and they are using couple of elements from key regime secret services for plausible deniability. They will let that person to be there, maybe to kind of launch their, put their button, right? Click the button or something, so that London will formally have this plausible deniability. Anyways, dear friends, let's continue. If any update, as I said, dear friends, I will share additional information in next my videos. Let's check what other news I have bookmarked. Poland, the topic of a nuclear. Number of European countries are becoming nuclear is still active, and Polish Donald Tusk, by the way, Polish Prime Minister, stated, according to Bloomberg, Western media, Western propaganda outlet, that Poland will eventually seek its own nuclear weapons. Very direct statement, and from Prime Minister of Poland, that Poland will eventually seek its own nuclear weapons, and definitely this is something that ideally, everyone have to react on, right? All the capitals throughout the world and condemn these kind of words. IAEA has to be all over their place with the condemnations, right? This International Atomic Energy Agency. All the capitals should talk about a breach, potential breach of NPT, Non-Proliferation Treaty, but nothing is happening. These European countries, Poland, Germany, Sweden, others, almost on daily basis are talking now becoming nuclear. And French president just a few days ago, France is already a nuclear state, but nevertheless, just a few days ago, French President Macron went to say that France is going to increase significantly its nuclear arsenal, and they're no longer going to share any information about its about number of nuclear warheads that it has. Clear step towards the escalation. But anyways, that's what is happening. I think a non-proliferation treaty is a thing of the past at this point, right? And probably Poland, Germany, Sweden, many other countries, Italy, probably already have in the works their military nuclear programs, right? And I think Turkey too is there, because Turkish leadership was very clear just a month ago approximately that if other countries will breach NPT, non-proliferation treaty, then Turkey will think about its own military nuclear program too. And what other indicator you need that non-proliferation treaty is no more when Prime Minister of a NATO member state, EU member state, is saying directly that Poland will eventually seek its own nuclear weapons? It's very clear where things are, in which direction things are moving, and we have to act, man. Humanity has to act to stop this madness. Otherwise, we might end up in a world when everybody has a freaking nukes, right? And in that case, humanity is definitely fucked. In that case, extinction level event is for sure, is absolutely inevitable. It will be only a matter of time. So we, of course, cannot allow these psychopaths to hold their hands on the nukes, right? Something has to be done, and maybe something will be done. Okay, to continue, if you think U.S. is only engaged in the military operations or the crime against humanity in the Middle East right now, no, man. No, Washington is busy sending its militaries to die in Latin America also, and this time around in Ecuador. U.S. military has launched their operation in Ecuador with the participation of local forces. The Pentagon's Southern Command reported the armed forces of Ecuador and the United States have begun operation against organizations designated as a terrorist claims, and they are calling now these narco cartels also terrorist organizations. They designate them as such, and they are going after some drug cartels and information about losses of the U.S. military personnel in Ecuador to be expected to also, right? To be expected also, and that's. I mean, RIA Novosti reported just a few minutes ago about that tanker that is been attacked in Mediterranean. Let me give you information from RIA Novosti about it. So the Ukraine attacked a Russian gas carrier in the Mediterranean Sea with their unmanned boats. The Ministry of Transport reported. It's UK, by the way. It's first and foremost, it's a UK, British Secret Services. Ukrainians, in this case, are just used for plausible deniability by Brits. On March 3rd, yesterday, an attack was carried out on a Russian gas carrier, Arctic Metagas, in a close proximity to the territorial waters of the EU member state of Malta. The tanker was carrying cargo cleared in accordance with all international regulations from the port of Murmansk. The department stated their enemy launched unmanned boats from the Libyan coast. All 30 crew members were rescued. The Ministry of Transport classifies the strike as an act of international terrorism from a Libyan coast. Oh, that's interesting. From Libyan coast. From I guess from area of Libya, which is controlled by so-called internationally recognized regime government, and that is Tripoli, right? Libya is divided, isn't it? There is Tripoli government and Benghazi government. Benghazi government has close ties, cooperates with Russian, as you know, and Tripoli not so. And well, maybe UK used actually, Tripoli controlled territory. Maybe Brits use that territory, that area, to launch these drones, or maybe some other place. That's what RIA Novosti is saying, that drones were launched from Libya. The enemy launched their unmanned boats from the Libyan coast. All three already said that all crew members have been evacuated. The agency emphasized that this attack was carried out with their with the connivance of EU authorities, and it should not go unnoticed by the international community. I mean, if Moscow has a hope for international community or on the international community, then I mean, really, international community, where is that international community? Where is that international community? US and Israeli militaries just killed 150 up to 200 children in Iran. And where is the international community? Did you hear anything from international community? Nothing? Anything? So yeah, if Moscow hopes for help from international community to deal with these terrorist attacks on Russian commercial vessels, then yeah, we are in trouble, man, in that case. I don't know. We will find out. All I know for sure, dear friends, is that Western ruling class only understands language of force, and that's it. Only way you can deter Western ruling class is to use force against them. This is the only language they know and understand. Period. That's it. And so, dear friends, let me now go through. Oh, there was a super chat. There was a super chat, dear friends, from Scooby on Rumble. And let me highlight this super chat first, and then I will go for latest updates from Telegram channels, let's say. Right, and so once again, let me thank her, Fred, for subscription on my Patreon page, $5 subscription on my Patreon page. Thank you very much, Fred, for your support. And dear friends, if you like my work, and If you want to have access to my updates, if you find it important, interesting, useful, then please consider to join me and our community on Patreon or Boosty, because well, this marathon that I launched, you will understand, gonna fail, right? We're not gonna be able to reach out to 100 new members on our Patreon and Boosty. So therefore, from next week, my news updates will be moved towards to Patreon and Boosty page of mine. So if you will subscribe, of course, you will have access to my updates, to everything, basically, to all the content that I do. Links are under this video in the description box and in the pinned comment. And let me highlight difference now. Let me highlight now two super chats from Scooby. Thank you very much, Scooby, for your super chat and the $2 donation in this super chat, and another $2 donation on another one. So Scooby is commenting, you weren't far off the mark with your prediction about the USA using militants. Lebanon, prime paralytic, did great analysis of it. Yes, I mean, I know. Thank you very much for acknowledging, Scooby. I literally spoke about Kurdish groups, right? I spoke about Kurdish groups that US will use them, or Western ruling class will use them, even before US-Israel launched the attack. I spoke about this. I also spoke about Belugis, right? And in upcoming days, you're going to hear about Belugis too. And their, of course, main goal will be of this satanic alliance to create tensions between Azerbaijanis and Persians, to create a confrontation between these two main ethnic groups, because Persians are majority, 50-60%, and Azerbaijanis are also a bigger ethnic group, by the way, 20 to 30%. There is different numbers that you might see if you will search on that, but about 20-30% are Azerbaijanis. So it's two major ethnic groups in Iran, both nation builders, by the way, Persians and Azerbaijanis. And as I said many times before, in past 300 to 500 years, all the dynasties, literally all the dynasties, I believe, were Azerbaijanis in Iran. Only exception, if I remember correctly, was this US implemented Shah regime. Shah was Persian, and Shah regime was very much hated by all the ethnic minorities in Iran, especially by Azerbaijanis, because during that Shah regime, there was forceful assimilation programs in place, right? And that's why, if anybody thinks, by the way, that restoration of the Shah regime going to be welcomed by Iranians, are mistaken. Iranians not going to welcome that nonsense, right? For sure. And as I said, it's not going to be easy for the Western elites to create a civil war, to provoke civil war between Persians and Azerbaijanis, because both are inherently enshrined into this civilization. Both are nation builders, civilization builders, right? Modern Iran could not be without both Persians and Azerbaijanis, right? And so, dear friends, thank you very much, Scooby, for acknowledging that I was on point there. Thank you. It is nice, man. I know when when my predictions are correct, and I see that today I might predict something, and after a week or two, or I don't know, months, others are talking about the same stuff. When it's already happening, well, I know that I made the correct prediction way before, but it's nevertheless it is nice when it's acknowledged, right, by community. So thank you, Scooby. And I have seen, I watched Brian Berletic's update today, and he always does good job, by the way. No questions. He always does good job. So today's update was no exception. I'm not always agree with his takes, and I'm quite sure if he ever watched my updates, by the way, he will find many topics that he will disagree with me. But He's one of the great leaders of the alternative media, by the way, and deserves all the credit, all the respect that we can give, 100%. I consider Brian Berletic and to be among top leaders of the community, as well as Duran guys, Alexander Mercuris, of course, Alex Cristoforo. You know, I have a great deal of respect to Boyfriend, and there are many others, right? There are many others, of course. We all are basically part of one big community here in alternative media. We all are subscribed to basically same platform, same channels, right? And so thank you very much, Scooby, for this super chat. And another super chat from Scooby is that once again, thank you, Scooby, for super chat and $2 donation. And Scooby is commenting on Rumble over an indefinite period. It's certainly that humanity will engage in nuclear war. Only way to make it uncertain is to remove the nukes. I agree with you 100%. Of course, you are spot on there, 100%. Risk is absolute if we continue on the current path, right? Risk is absolute that at some point we will end up in a nuclear war. Scale of the nuclear war, hard to tell, but any scale would be a disaster, isn't it? Any scale would be a disaster. And the only way to avoid this is to get rid of nukes once and for all, get rid of nukes, all the MODs, right? All the weapons of mass destruction. But will it happen? We all know that, no, it's not going to happen. So that's where we are. I agree with you, Scooby, 100%. Thank you very much for sharing. And let's go through some Telegram channels now, by the way. Or you know what? I'll give you. I'm gonna first update. Let's make an update on RIA Novosti, for example. Maybe they had shared some breaking news from now. I already spoke about this Russian LNG tanker that was attacked yesterday. Dozens of tankers have accumulated on both sides of Hormuz Strait. I spoke about it. RGC reported the destruction of the U.S. destroyer off coast of Iran. Interesting. Powerful strike ended their Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. Powerful strike indeed. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps missile operation against the U.S. strategic target, more than 600 kilometers from the coast of the Indian Ocean. Their statement said, according to agency, RGC struck a destroyer with their Qadr 380 and their Talaim missiles. At the time, it was refueling from the fuel ship 650 kilometers off coast of Iran. So you see, Iran claims successful strike on U.S. destroyer. I don't know what destroyer. Arleigh class destroyer, I guess. Yet again, let's take this information with a grain of salt, dear friends, because it's a fog of war, right? We need more details, of course, but there is a probability, that Iran actually did manage to strike this destroyer successfully. Let's wait if we will receive some additional information on that. And also, dear friends, let's check, for example, TASS News Agency for potential updates. Russian Armed Forces struck the launch site of the Ukrainian Armed Forces long-range attacker drones. Zakharova called the murders of the Khamenei and others Iranian leaders a while. Fighters of the Sever-V Brigade destroyed a group of Kyiv regime's forces north of Chisov Yar, and there is a video there of neutralization of that unit. Okay, no breaking news there, and let's therefore check some Telegram channels for the latest from them, and that's gonna be it for now, I guess. So I hope you find my update informative, dear friends. A lot of news A lot of news, of course. I shared a lot of information about different developments. And that's let's start with Telegram now. This is the Geopolitics here. They have update about some statements of Zelensky. Zelensky proposed a deal. He wants to exchange Patriot missiles for Ukrainian interceptor drones. He wants to give let's read what he said. We are building relations with the countries of the Middle East today. They have a Patriot air defense systems, PAC-free missiles. They have all of this. This is important, first of all, for them. But does this protect against the hundreds of drones? We all know no. This is not a viable model. However, we have a shortage of PAC-free missiles, and if we talk about weapons during the war, which we lack, if they give us PAC-free missiles, we will give them interceptor drones. This is equivalent exchange. I mean, he probably had some extra powder this morning, isn't it? Some extra powder. Incredible, man, unbelievable. Russia has sharply intensified drone attacks on Kiev regime railway network since the beginning of spring, with an average of 6 strikes on railway infrastructure per day, according to Kiev regime. Basically, this is their report from other side. Iran no longer trusts the US and has no intention of conducting any negotiations with Washington. An advisor to their country's supreme leader stated, Larijani, I guess, Tehran is ready to continue the war with the US and Israel for as long as they're necessary. Statement says Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez responds to Trump, and this is quote here: "We are not going to be accomplices to something that is bad for the world, and that is also certainly to our contrary to our values and their interests, simply because of the fear of the reprisals from some." And Trump, threatened to cut trade relationships with Spain and so on. So Pedro Sanchez is responding: "We have absolute confidence in the economic, institutional, and I would say moral strength of our country." Okay. Iranian Foreign Minister Araghchi stated, and I give you quotes: "When complex nuclear negotiations are treated like a real estate transaction, and when big lies cloud realities, unrealistic expectations can never be met. Their outcome, bombing their negotiating table out of spite. Mr. Trump betrayed diplomacy and the Americans who elected him," Abbas Araghchi stated. And Americans already understand. Americans that supported the Trump, by the way, majority of them, I think, already understand that. That was a mistake. They should never trust the system, this corrupt system. I'm not saying that if they would vote for Kamala, things would be different. No. Because decision makers, actual true decision makers, are people that are in shadows, right? These elements that are in the public view are just puppets appointed on different positions, right? So that they will sign up for orders that they're being given by their masters from shadows, and will make certain policies officials, because that's how states operate. You need to have a president, or you need to have a government, or minister of this, minister of that, or secretary, whatever you call it, and all the decisions have to be formalized. And this is the only reason why these actual decision makers in the West, these special groups of interests, are using these puppets, right? To give their, to put them out there and let them sign up whatever policies they've been ordered to adopt. That's all. So if Kamala was in the White House, things would not be any better. Correct? But many citizens of US, I think, are beginning to realize that there is no choice, actually. There is no elections, actually. Because no matter for who you vote, you will end up with the freaking neocons in the White House. You will end up with the freaking deep state in the White House. You will end up with the Wall Street, with the multinational corporations, with military-industrial complex, with all sorts of special, all sorts of groups of special interests in the White House, right? And their intents and the policies. So therefore, I think her next step after realizing that this system is not allows actual elections, after realizing that, next step is to think about what can be done to undo this system, this corrupt system, right? And to actually reclaim the republic that US is supposed to be, isn't it? Based on its constitution. Anyways, let's continue with some other news, sir. Artist correspondent in Beirut reports second airstrike on the Heret area right now, and you can see aftermath right on your screen, dear friends, of this attack. Of course, Israel went big after Lebanon. Israeli forces are beginning to occupy parts of southern Lebanon, and they are intensify their airstrikes on Beirut and throughout the Lebanon, basically. A series of explosions occurred in the east of the Tehran. Eyewitnesses told the TASS news agency. U.S. House Speaker Mike Johnson on Iran. We are not their border policemen, but I think this is a great development for the Iranians. I mean, it's a shame, man. It's a shame to even Western, I don't know, man. Anytime on these moments. Unfortunately, these people are at least formally in charge, right? These are high-ranking officials in a nuclear superpower, and we have no choice but to pay attention. But they don't deserve this, man. This scum of humanity didn't deserve any attention whatsoever. This Mike Johnson, this guy should be, should never get any job whatsoever. I mean, he's just one brain cell element, right? They already killed 200 children in Iran, and he says that this is great for Iran, people of Iran. Okay, man. You cannot comment seriously on these horrible creatures. Canada's Prime Minister Corney spotlights failure of international order. Oh, really? And this is quote, US and Israel have acted without consulting the United Nations or the allies. So, okay. He got some guts to say something about absolutely illegal actions of the US and Israel. Totally unprovoked war of choice. Yet again, reports about Israeli strikes on Beirut, capital of Lebanon. Tucker Carlson is quoted here by RT as saying, Iran tried to assassinate Trump. Intelligence came from Israel. Why can't we see their intelligence? Or is like their WMD in their test tube? Oh, Carlson is beginning to realize something, isn't it? He is beginning to kind of understand something better. Yet again, I don't trust public figures in the West, by the way. Tucker Carlson is a public figure at this point. and he knows how to appeal to the masses. He knows how to do this. He knows what to say, how, what to question, to be seen as a sensible human being by Americans first of all, by his fellow citizens. He is in a long game here, right? He is in a long game, and I think at some point he will probably run for office, even if he says no numerous times before. But at some point he will run for office, and you know what? Before getting to White House, Trump was also advised by certain individuals on the talking points, and Trump was also making quite sensible statements every now and then, maybe not always, but every now and then Trump was also making some sensible statements, and who knows, maybe Tucker Carlson was advising him what to say. Just because you are correct now does not grant you trust, especially if you are in the Western world, because we know how corrupt system works, right? Corrupt system will not allow anybody to be part of a system or to succeed on any more or less relevant scale unless that somebody is compromised and can be controlled through blackmail or through other means. And therefore, yes, Tucker Carlson is very often nowadays says some adequate stuff. Right now, he is comparing this WMD hoax that was used to attack Iraq with this so-called intelligence that came from Israel also about Israeli attempts to assassinate Trump. Yes, he basically is saying that this is all hoax, by the way. This is nonsense, right? And lately, Carson is acting in his statements mostly quite adequately. He makes some sensible points, but again, can we trust him, man? I don't know. I don't have to trust him. I'm not an American, but Americans should think for themselves why certain people being allowed to be on the spotlight by a system that is tremendously corrupt, right? Tremendously corrupt, by the way, and only allows to be part of system elements that are one way or another but compromised, and therefore influenced, right? Or can be influenced and manipulated. Let's say this way. Okay. Anyways, I'm not necessarily saying that Carlson is playing some games on behalf of globalists or Zionists or neocons or whatever. But what I do know for sure is, people before entering the office are saying one thing, and once they are in office, policies are staying same, right? Or even getting worse and worse. Look what happened to Trump. I already shared this information that there are crazy elements, by the way, in U.S. leadership, including military leadership, that are talking about this second coming and stuff. I mean, this is subject that definitely has to be discussed. By the way, how U.S. citizens, many U.S. citizens, end up being indoctrinated in this nonsense, right? That humans are so freaking important now and so influential that they can't actually force God to do anything, so they can trigger second coming or stuff. I mean, who you think you are, man? Really, this universe is not running around you, is not dancing around you, guys. What the hell, man? This is like not just next level of arrogance, but I mean, I don't know. It's insanity, man. Right? Unbelievable. New York Mayor Mandani says Iran has a brutal government, a bolder assessment in the middle of the war. Mandami went after Iranians, right? I mean, this also this prostitute. Some people were thinking that Mandani is a real guy and stuff like that. Seriously, man, system does not allow anybody who is not corrupt, who is not compromised, to succeed, man, on any level. And definitely, person that has not been corrupt or is not compromised never ever will be allowed to become a mayor of New York. I mean, it's so simple, isn't it? It's so simple, but I mean, millions of people in New York were manipulated nevertheless, and well, they're gonna hear now this kind of crap from this Mandami. Okay, they deserve this, I guess, right? They have to deal with the system. They have to deal with the system to actually regain control over their own country and their own destiny. This is the only way. Over 10 oil tankers have been hit after ignoring Iran's warning that the Strait of Hormuz is now a war zone. Meh News citing reports citing senior RGC naval official. Could be true, by the way. Maybe 10 oil tankers actually were struck in and around the Hormuz Strait. Maybe not. More reports about explosions in Beirut, capital of Lebanon. Some small fragments from one of the shows on RT, and of course, Professor Mohammed Marandi is doing great work for Iranian people while reaching out rest of the world, right? Because it is in English, because it is absolutely necessary to have a Iranian point of view, right? And Professor Marandi does a great work in this regard. If I was active in terms of, if my channel was a bit bigger, by the way, and was not in shadow ban, and if I was inviting guests, I would love to invite Professor Marandi, among other people, of course, to have a conversation. There's so much topics that could be discussed in detail, of course. Also, RT is sharing a snippet of the interview with Stanislav Krapivnik. Many members of our community are familiar with Stanislav Krapivnik. Like a few months ago, I actually, that was the last interview that I did on my channel when I invited Stanislav Krapivnik a few months ago. IDF claims Israeli F-35I shot down Iranian Yak-130 fighter jet over the Tehran. If confirmed, it would be first air-to-air kill for the F-35. If confirmed, I mean, let's take any information with a grain of salt, by the way. I mean, is F-35 capable of intercepting this training combater Yak-30? Yes, especially with in a BVR fight, in a beyond visual range fight. Yes, for sure. But did it happen? That's the question. In a close range fighter, Yak-130 might give a fight. Yet again, it's a trained combat plane, so it's not really a fighter jet, that Yak-130. But in the close range, F-35 is so freaking garbage that in a close range, Yak-130 might outperform it. But in a BVR, no. In a BVR, Yak-30 has no chances. I think, maybe I'm wrong on that, but I think in BVR, F-35 will have an advantage, of course. Israeli strike reduces their entire building to rubble in Beirut, and the moment of strike difference you can see right now on your screen. Many media outlets are reporting at this point about these strikes in Beirut. And okay, by the way, that's about it, right? Let's see what Kirill Fyodorov's channel is reporting also, and I will end live stream on that. Some satellite imagery, a New York Times citing and showing pictures of attacked American bases states that Iran damaged communication systems at 7 U.S. military facilities in the Middle East. 7 only? Come on, man. This is also damage control stuff, isn't it? New York Times, because everybody has seen all these numerous drone and missile strikes on U.S. military infrastructure throughout region. Well, now damage control mode is in place, right? And these Western propaganda outlets like New York Times and so on will come up with such articles that, well, in 5 areas, actually some damage occurred, in 6 areas, in 7 areas. Really? Maybe in 20 bases, in 20 areas, 25? But it's a damage control. They want to downgrade, right? Scale of harm that was done to U.S. military presence in the region. Okay, that's about it, dear friends, sir. That's about it for today. Hopefully, you find the news segment informative and useful. Hopefully, you find informative and useful this news segment. In that case, please like the video, click that like button, leave some commentary. Let me remind you that we have this marathon before end of this week, dear friends. And I mean, if one major sponsor comes around, I specially created a $500 subscription on a Patreon. Maybe I should do the same on Boosty. I will, by the way, in case there is a rich or ultra rich member in our community and can afford to help me out to maintain full-time work on this project, then great. If not, then well, from next week my news updates are moving to my Patreon and Boost pages. And if you want to have access to stay in touch, please consider to join me on Patreon and Boosty. Yet again, if miracle happens and we will reach 100 new subscribers there, 100 new Patreons, or if one major sponsor comes around, if there is any ultra rich individual in our community, then okay, that will do. Of course, links to my Patreon are on this video in the description box and in the pinned comment. And in case, dear friends, you have to donate something to this project, you can do it through PayPal platform and also through Boosty platform. Links are also under this video in the description box and in the pinned comment. This is it for now. Let's see how day goes, dear friends. I plan to make for you walk and talk type of video as a second news updater with the latest news for that particular moment. And if day is very active news-wise, later on today, late evening, about 10 or 11 p.m., I will launch live stream again. So that's all I want to say for now. Take care and see you next time. Bye.